Hello, my name is Jim Gallipo. I'm here from Newport, Rhode Island. And I wanted to start off by mentioning, I think it's 85%, maybe 90% of abortions are happen because the man involved in the pregnancy doesn't take responsibility for the pregnancy and either coerces the woman involved or is passive or just kind of passes the buck. And I was one of those men. And when my girlfriend became pregnant a long time ago, I became paralyzed primarily because of my own selfish interests. I thought of how having a child would affect my lifestyle, and I didn't know really the consequence of my action. I knew that abortion was legal. It would end my, current selfish concerns, but I don't know really how to describe how I responded, except that I was kind of paralyzed for about a week. What happened was my girlfriend went to her mother. I remember very little about what happened with the abortion, except that she cried for about a week and appealed to me, and I didn't respond. She went to a local hospital with her mother and had the abortion. I found out she had gone, and I went to pick her up, and she came out of the hospital with her mother having to support her. And honestly, I took her home, and we never, ever talked about that again. And I see the abortion that I was involved in taking the life of my child. I see that retrospectively as a very selfish act. And I think, with all due respect, I think it is a selfish act. Very few abortions occur because of a life-threatening situation for the woman involved or because of incest and rape. I think 97% of abortions are done for the convenience of the parents. And I was one of those parents. And today I really, I regret the harm that I did to my girlfriend and obviously to my child. I can tell you that I went through 2 marriages. Again, very selfish is who I am or who I was. And I came to a place, I had 2 children, thank God. And I'd had some religious experience early on in my life, but I didn't really understand God, and I had really obviously turned my back on any concept of right and wrong. And at the point of my second divorce, I was in a place where I couldn't even get out of bed. I was so depressed, and I wanted to take my life, but I wasn't selfish enough to do that, thankfully. God intervened, and I remember that I had looked in a Bible, and I think it was Romans 2:4 said, but don't you know that the mercy of God, the kindness of God leads to repentance? And that was enough for me to realize that God had never left me, but I had turned my back on him. And I remember getting on my knees and asking God what he wanted to do, what he wanted me to do with the rest of my life. And the abortion experience, I hadn't thought of it for almost 30 years, came right back to me. And I somehow through the church I was going to, I went to a crisis resource center in the town I live in, and they told me that there were people in Providence, the capital of Rhode Island, that were praying outside of abortion clinics and counseling people going in. And I thought, well, I better go and see that and get involved. And I went, and I've been doing that outside of Planned Parenthood for now 3+ years. And I go and I try and share my experience. It's hard because people are on their way in and their minds are generally set, but I try to appeal to the men and to the women by letting them know that I don't want them. I tell the man, I say, I don't want you to experience what I've experienced, the suffering, and I want you to know that fatherhood's the greatest gift you could ever have, and motherhood to the woman. And ask your parents what a great gift you are, and they'll tell you what a great gift you are. And I'll mention to the man, if I can, please don't make the mistake that I did. I don't want that suffering for you and your child. So I can tell you that I got to that place too because I turned to Jesus Christ. I was healed through, and I'm still healing. I'm not sure abortion, I don't think you can ever be healed from that completely. I'm certainly not, but I went to Rachel's Vineyard myself, and I went to the male counterpart to Forbidden and Set Free, which is Healing a Father's Heart. And those were really beneficial because I realized that God does love me, and He has forgiven me. I have a little bit of a hard time forgiving myself, honestly, but by His grace and by coming here and hopefully sharing my experience with others and urging the young people here, thank God for you that you're here. And I think of my child. My child would be about your age, in the 20s, a little older. And I hope you'll realize what a great gift motherhood and fatherhood is. And thank you for listening.